What's up, everybody? It's C&T, and we're back with another Screen to Table. Now, when Cristina messaged me about the meal that she wanted to make for this, I was super excited because at the end of it, I get to eat it.
So the dish that we're going to be making today is called pasta e ceci. You probably have never heard it before. It's a childhood favorite. My mom would make this all the time when we were kids, so I grew up with this recipe. The star of this Italian bean soup is chickpeas. And it's a super simple recipe. Outside of a can of chickpeas, you need a small can of tomato sauce, ditalini pasta, chopped celery, chopped garlic, salt, pepper, olive oil, and that's it. So we're gonna get started. The first step to making this soup is sweating garlic. So we're gonna turn on the heat to a nice pot for soup. Thank you, T. And we're gonna add in about a tablespoon of olive oil. You wanna let that olive oil heat up at the bottom of the pot. And I chopped up about a large clove and a half of garlic. I had really large garlic cloves. If you have smaller ones, you want to chop up maybe 2 or 3. It's about that much garlic. So once this oil gets heated up, we're gonna toss these in. The key to any good Italian recipe is a lot of garlic. So this is gonna sweat. You're gonna start to get the aromatics of the garlic. It's gonna smell really good. Let it get a little bit brown. The next step is going to be to add in some of the chopped celery. So I chopped up about 2 stalks of celery, and they're in these half moon shapes. Be mindful to use the green part of the celery and not the bottom of the stalk, because that part's really thick and stringy and it won't be a good texture in the soup. You hear that garlic crackling. My edges are getting a little bit brown now, so I'm going to add in the celery and we're just going to let that soften.
So the first time Cristina made this for me was actually right after I had moved out. I had brought all the chickpeas that I was hoarding over here. And she was like, what are we going to do with all these chickpeas? And she thought of this recipe. And I actually ended up loving it. So she's made it several times for me.
I couldn't believe how many cans of chickpeas he had in his apartment. I think we finally have only 1 can left. But I think we brought over like 10 cans. Not even joking. Okay, so this is getting pretty toasty and the celery is soft. So now we're going to add in the small can of tomato sauce. Thank you, T. We add that in, and usually what I do is I refill this small can up twice with water and add that in here. I have some water sitting over here, so I'm just going to use this. It's about 1.5 cups. And we're adding this much water because we're making a stock for soup, not so much a sauce. So you need more of that water to tomato ratio to make a stock. Then we're going to turn the heat up high. And the next step is going to be to add in some celery leaves. So you'll find these like in the middle of the bunch of celery that you buy. Sprinkle those in. And then we're going to season it with salt and pepper. Now, I'm Italian. Italians are very intuitive cooks. We don't use recipes really. So I don't have exact measurements. I just season it, I eyeball it. I've been doing this so long that I just kind of know. Season it to your taste. You'll want to make sure that as this is cooking, you take a spoon and taste it throughout to make sure that the seasoning level is up to par with what you like. So give that a stir. Turning the heat up, this is going to come to a bubbling boil. The next step is to add in the chickpeas. So I drain this halfway. I leave half of the liquid in here because it's going to help thicken the soup a little bit. We toss those in. And then T measured out my ditalini pasta. So ditalini, this one is called macaroni. I don't know why, it's like the Jewel brand. But ditalini looks like this. They're those little baby noodles. You can use like elbows or macaroni shells if you have those, but this is the traditional pasta that goes in here. And we're gonna give that a stir. Once this comes up to the boil all the way, we'll reduce the heat to low, put a lid on it, and let it simmer for 30 to 40 minutes. You have to keep your eye on this because it does tend to reduce. If it reduces too much, you're gonna wanna add a little bit of water so that the soupy consistency stays liquidy. All right, so we're gonna give this a sec. We'll come back and show you guys what the end result looks like once it reduces down and has a minute to cook.
We just wanted to give you all a quick peek at what it should look like when it's simmering. One of my favorite things about this meal is that it has the whole house smelling like garlic and tomato.
Okay everyone, so we wanted to show you what the final result looks like. This is the soup. You can see it's very orange in color from the tomato sauce, the chickpeas, the pasta that's in here.
Yeah, the first time I had this, it actually reminded me of adult Spaghettios.
Oh my god, yeah, that is the first thing he said. He's like, man, this tastes like adult Spaghettios. And I was like, don't tell that to Nonna. But then I was like, I've had Spaghettios before, and I totally can see why he would say that. It's got that like tomatoey taste to it, so I get it.
So I'm not wrong. And another way that I suggest making this is saving a little bit, putting it in the fridge, and eating it the next day for lunch. Now, it usually doesn't make it till lunchtime for me, but it is just as good cold, so be sure to save some leftovers.
Yeah, I know that sounds really gross, but he has a point. I have a lot of memories of my mom storing this in the fridge, and we just take spoonfuls of leftover cold pasta cece. It does taste really good, but don't knock it until you try it.
So thanks again for viewing this Screen to Table. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have any suggestions, knock them down in the comments. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, and bon appetit.
Bye, guys.
See ya.